Okay, Steve, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just giving the introduction, man. There was, you normally do the introduction, so I was giving the introduction. So that's what we talk about, man. I was saying it's frustrating for you guys, but it's also frustrating for us, because we're putting in a lot of work and a lot of effort, and to see people kind of going backwards is frustrating. And there's a lot there. There's a lot, about habits. There's a lot that has to do with what you're doing, the way that you're thinking, and then of course, as I like to talk about, there's a lot of things that are happening emotionally that you're not dealing with, that are really sabotaging you, and that's the one thing that people don't talk about. I have not found anyone on YouTube talking about it. I haven't found anyone in any major health outlet talking about how your emotions are going to play into your eating habits and how they will absolutely sabotage all of your efforts. And that is kind of where I like to shine.
Yeah, the people you'll hear people talk about emotional eating. That's super common, right? But
Yeah.
we're highlighting the problem with no real solution. That's the problem. Like
Right.
it's good to listen. We're emotional eaters. Okay, boom, we've said it. Now, how do we stop being emotional eaters? Where does emotional eating come from? And one of the things that I've noticed is we are taught to use food as a comfort, as a coping mechanism from pretty much day one. You come out the womb, just think about it. You come out of the womb, and as an infant, as a newborn baby, if you're agitated, if you're sleepy, if you're frustrated, anything, you get on that nipple. Even if you don't want the nipple, because your parents typically are just trying to figure something out, they put you on the nipple. And that's when the coping begins for a lot of people. Now, I think Steve kind of explains it to where as we get older, we kind of grow out of using food as a coping mechanism in that way. At least most of us, or at least we should. But it doesn't, for some reason, everyone doesn't grow out of it. And I think it's probably because there's environmental stressors that continue to perpetuate this idea that we should use food for comfort, you know? And then we also use food for when we're happy. We use food when our boyfriend or girlfriend breaks up with us. We use food when we're celebrating, when you graduate, when it's your first day of work, when it's your last day of work, when it's your birthday, when it's just a Tuesday. Like, we use food in every aspect of our interaction with each other. And so it becomes integral. It's like we cannot do anything without food being a part of it. And then we wonder why we use food as a coping mechanism. Well, we use food for everything else. So then, Steve, what do you think are some of the solutions? Like, if we're using food for everything, how can we start to remove food as a coping mechanism, especially when we're feeling depressed or sad or whatever the case may be?
That's a very good question. To be honest with you, the thing that I like to teach, first thing is number one, recognition. So I kind of had this, I kind of gave a little bit of information about this yesterday. Someone made a post and they were talking about, their emotions and how they were trying to control their emotions. And I commented and I said, well, first things first, you're trying to control something that you can't control. So, we try to control our emotions and wrangle them in, and we can't. Like, you literally, like, I know this may sound taboo to some people because they're like, I'm controlling my emotions. No, you're not. You think that you are, but you're not. I like to give the example that if somebody broke into your house right now, somebody kicked your door in and they were like, give me all your money, you're going to feel fear, right? You may feel anger. There's a lot of emotions that are going to spur up in you, right? And guess what? Those emotions you couldn't control. They just came about. You had no ability to stop them, right? You may feel anxious. There's going to be things that are going to come up that you don't have control over. Now, that's obviously a very extreme example, right? But let's say that you have, you mentioned depression.
Mm-hmm.
It's really about recognition. So when you get into a situation or you start to understand yourself and you're more self-aware, then you can recognize, hey, I am feeling depressed, right? When I feel depressed, what do I typically do? Right? Let me look at my habits. Well, I go to the store and I get Blue Bunny, right? That becomes my guy. I go to the store and I get Little Debbie. My cabinets are I have tons of snacks in my cabinet, and that's where I go when I'm feeling stressed out or I'm feeling depressed, right? Or I may go to McDonald's, or I'll go to Chick-fil-A. Like these are the things that I do when I feel depressed. So the first thing, or the first tool that I could give you, or to even start this, is recognition. Most of the time, 90+% of the time, we run on autopilot. Our emotions, just everything, we just run on autopilot. And a lot of that has to do with the conditioning that we have received since we were children. So once again, you talked about how we're conditioned in the as newborns to get on the nipple, and that conditioning continues as we continue to grow older. All of our holidays, there's no holidays out there that's not centered around food. You mentioned birthdays, bar mitzvahs. Engagements, divorces, breakups. It doesn't matter. Anything, we will use food and center around it. You ever been to a birthday party where there wasn't food?
That's a sad birthday party.
That's a sad birthday party, right? But why is that? Like, why does there have to be food there? Like, there's a group, and I'm in the skating group, and one of the things that they do is they bring food, or almost like potluck style, every Monday, and they bring food. Well, they're skating. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, no, granted, there's nothing wrong with it, but we're there to skate.
Right.
Like, and there's food. So it's just one of those things. I won't even say culturally. Well, it's probably semi-culturally, but it is one of those things where it is literally ingrained in every part of our being. I was watching this is kind of getting a little off topic, but I was watching something. It is the gentleman's name is Mark Wiens. He's a food traveler. You guys have probably heard about him. When you're fasting, you tend to watch a lot of food videos. I can't tell you why, but it is what it is. And something is very satisfying about it. But the one thing that I notice is that when he goes and travels other countries and he eats, he doesn't eat the typical breakfast food. Like, he normally will eat things that people would eat for lunch or dinner in America. He doesn't, I don't ever see him eating pancakes or French toast or muffins and all of these breakfast foods and things that we eat. And I think a lot of that has to do with just the way that they are raised, right? They have a different culture. And, it just goes to show that however you're brought up or whatever is ingrained in you as a child is going to then permeate into your adult life, and it will continue until you put your foot down basically and say, hey, this is a problem and I need to change it. And that goes all the way back to recognition, and just being self-aware. So that is, the first, I would say the first topic that I really kind of start to break down. And there's different tools and things behind there that I actually provide that will allow you to literally start to then recognize your feelings and emotions and look inside of yourself on a daily basis and check in. And that's really the most important part, is to recognize what's happening. Take yourself off autopilot and start driving the car yourself, right? You take yourself out the Tesla, the Teslas, they can drive themselves now, right? Get yourself out of the Tesla, take the wheel, and you start driving and having a sense of understanding, having a sense of how to navigate certain things. And when you can do that and you can start to recognize, then you can start to influence these emotions a little bit. And then there's more that comes after that. So,
Right. So Isaiah mentioned that you can't control emotions, but you can manage them. And so it's, one of the things that I personally have learned to do in my life is when someone says something, whatever the case is, I'm going to feel that kind of knee jerk reaction, but I want to make sure that I manage that and don't allow it to get out of control. I don't want it to rule me the rest of the day, or allow me to make any snap judgments, or you don't want to do anything in a moment of fear or anger or frustration, because you're not in a good state of mind, right, to make decisions. So there's a couple of exercises that I like to practice when I'm dealing with things that are coming right at me in real time. And the simplest one is you literally just, okay, boom, you get hit with something and it makes you angry or frustrated or whatever. You take a deep breath, because that's super important. We don't use breath work at all. I don't know why, but you take a deep breath. You slowly let the air out, right? And you do that maybe 3-4 times. You gather yourself, and you're pretty much buying yourself time to really process what happened, whatever it was. Maybe somebody called you fat, or maybe someone called you stupid, or maybe somebody slapped you by that, whatever. I don't know, right? You take a second and you just breathe, and you breathe in positive energy and air, and then you breathe out the frustration, anger, fear, whatever. And then, now that you've recentered yourself, you go at that problem, whatever that problem is, whatever that is. I find that to be very, very helpful. Chocolate mentioned that this is one of the areas where she struggles a lot, as well as I think Sis Hope was saying that that's currently her struggle. So it looks like this is a pretty important topic for a lot of people to be dealing with right now.
Yes, I wanted to mention one more thing, because you talked about managing emotions. That's absolutely correct. The second part of recognition is influence. So, which that's just the word that I use. So, it's about yes. After you recognize them, obviously you have to do something with them. So the second part of that is influence. So, or manage them, and but you can't manage them if you can't recognize them.
Right.
So that's that's.
And I know you talk more in depth when we have our 40-day wellness class. You talk more in depth about like anger and certain emotions, how you think that they are in the driver's seat, but in reality, it's not really anger that's in the driver's seat. That's more in the back seat. But there is a emotion that's in front of anger that is being overshadowed by anger. And because of that, we can't properly identify what emotion we're dealing with. And so in that case, it's really challenging to manage it. And I think that's also part of where my technique helps a little bit, is, really giving yourself an opportunity to let that initial anger or whatever kind of dissipate. Because do you think that you could can you use, when you're angry, right, and you're enraged, do you think that you can make solid judgments? Like, no. So it's like, in order to in real time deal with some of this stuff, you have to use some sort of technique. You could use the 5-second rule, right? Which is, okay, boom, you get hit with something, you take a break, and for 5 seconds, you just process. You just let it process, and then you go into it. You process, and then you respond. You don't want to just instantly respond to things, And now, for some of us, our snap judgment might be to go grab a bag of chips. So you need to stop yourself, and you need to think about, well, why am I grabbing these chips? What are they really doing for me? You know, how are they benefiting me? How are they being a detriment to my body or to this situation?
There you mentioned anger, of course, and that is probably one of my favorite things to talk about because there's so many people that don't understand it. And you have some people that think, oh, I'm not an angry person, but you are. And you don't realize it. And that's once again that's part of recognition. If you don't understand what an emotion feels like, you may think that you're not angry, but you are. Anger comes in a lot of different forms. Anger can come in frustration, which is just very mild anger, but anger can also come in rage, to where you almost black out, right? You hear about people getting in fights where they're like, I blacked out, I don't even know what happened. Anger is meant to do a couple different things. And one of the primary reasons for anger is to protect. It's actually genuinely to protect yourself. And you typically will do that to protect yourself physically, or you're going to be angry because you need to protect yourself emotionally. And a lot of times we will get, if someone says something that causes us to be angry or feel annoyed, it's because it didn't match with something that we feel is correct. It didn't line up with one of our personal values in our life, or it went against something that we believe in. And that will cause massive anger. The problem is that we don't typically address the core or underlying issue, which is the reason that it made us angry. We typically are only addressing the anger in and of itself.
Right.
There's a lot of emotions that, like grief and fear that are non-adaptive, which you can't do anything with them. They will lock you in place. They freeze you. And then anger then comes in, right? And then it says, hey, don't worry about it, grief. I got you, brother. I'll take over. And then now anger comes in. He's like, rah, I'm mad. Now I'm going to protect. And what that will do is that will then push away anybody or anything around you to protect yourself. So a lot of times, you may be in a situation where somebody says something to you, or they get under your skin, and then really what you're feeling may be shame. You may be feeling your pride got hurt. You may be feeling grief or upset, whatever. There's a ton of different emotions that you may feel, and then instead of you saying, hey, man, that just made me shrink into myself, and that made me feel very shameful, then you just get angry, right? And then anger just says, well, just get mad, right? And then getting mad will then say, I don't need to, my bad. I don't want any problems, right? You push that thing away, and then now you're okay. The problem is that anger is a secondary emotion, and you never dealt with the primary one, which was shame in that situation. So then, of course, when that situation happens again, what happens? Anger pops up again, and you never actually deal with that underlying issue. And a lot of times, kind of reeling this in, a lot of times there's all of those emotions that we deal with when it comes to eating, and we will then eat to cope. So when you get angry and you push somebody away, or you say something that you don't really mean, and you said it out of anger, then we have all this, of course, pride. Which I talk about pride and teach about pride as well, which you have healthy pride and sick pride. So there's two different ones, one that's good and one that's bad. So you have sick pride that's going to then get you from going and apologizing to that person to then just say, well, you were justified, right? Sick pride will make you feel justified in your actions, even though you weren't, right? So then even though you are making yourself feel justified, but you're not, you'll feel guilty for that. And then what you may do is then you will use a coping mechanism to then go and feel better about yourself, right? And then a coping mechanism that a lot of us use is going to be food. And then there's, of course, there's pro-social coping mechanisms, and there's antisocial coping mechanisms. And they're not all, even the pro-social ones are not always good, especially when used in excess.
Right.
So there's a you see how that works? There's a hierarchy, and it's not a simple answer. And it takes time to really explain this and have a good understanding of it, which is why no one talks about it. No one teaches it because there's so much behind it. And it really takes some time to really kind of explain and to start to get an understanding of it. But when you do, and you can see that you're in these situations and you recognize, hey, I'm upset, which means this may lead to, sick pride, and this has other underlying emotions. And then when I feel these things, this is what I normally do, right? I go and order Domino's, right? Or I get wings, or I go and I say I need crab legs, or some people that maybe they have some unhealthy coping mechanisms say I need a drink. Well, let me go smoke a blunt, right? They have these unhealthy coping mechanisms. Like, you ever had that person when they say, man, I had a really hard day at work, I need a drink, right?
Yep.
On a normal day, for anybody normal, someone's gonna be like, hey man, I feel you, that's cool, that's understandable.
Right.
No, that's a very unhealthy coping mechanism. You don't need that, right? There's other ways when we get to that point when we can start recognizing these things and we can start dealing with those underlying emotions, then we can start getting to the point where then we're replacing some of the unhealthy coping mechanisms with healthier ones, right? Which is where I'm at in the position now, where I just told you, I'm in a skate group, right? So I've recently kind of reignited my love for skating by just going and saying, hey, listen, man, I'm struggling, I'm having a rough day, and I'm going to go to the park and I'm going to hit these trails, and I go skate the trails. I now get to the point where I start cleaning. I start rearranging things. I part of my business, right? I clean. So there's things now that I understand. When I feel certain ways, then I have started to replace a lot of those unhealthy coping mechanisms with healthier ones, and it's a process still. But that is how that really kind of works. Sorry, I'm going off here,
doing your thing. That this is what Steve does in our classes all the time. He goes off and starts really digging in, because he's taking the time to understand these really I'm not gonna say it's unpopular, but they're not very often talked about elements, and we really need to understand them, so it's good. Tiff said, my biggest anger factor is when others are not grateful. I can't make others grow, and I need to be okay with that. And I feel you, Tiff, because I'm similar, or at least I was, in a way where, I have a really large family. And when I very first started learning about health and wellness, my goal was to make sure that every single person in my family who had ears and eyes were going to be privy to this information. And when I started putting that information out to my family, telling them, hey, we don't have to die from diabetes, cancer, heart disease, lung failure. We've had several family members die from these diseases. We don't have to die from that anymore. The response that I got back from my family was subpar, and it really infuriated me, because I felt like we've had so many loved ones pass away, and it's like now we've got all this information, and and all you ever do is you hope that you wish that you had this information, 10 years ago, so that you could have helped XYZ person not die. But the reality is they probably wouldn't have listened to you, because people got to be ready to take their health journey. They got to be ready to do these things. And if they're not, you can't force them. So I had to learn that I can't get upset when, I can't want them to be healthy more than they want to be healthy, And that was something that I really, really had to learn, because it really affected me. So one of the other tools that you could use, once you've identified coping mechanisms, you could say, okay, I use this coping mechanism when XYZ happens. So put yourself in a position where XYZ happens less and less. Like, okay, so for example, if you're in a relationship with a person who constantly triggers you to eat and whatever, use coping mechanisms, do you need to be in a relationship with that person? That's one question to ask. Or if it's something that's, you've built and I know how it is with humans, we get attached to people. Maybe it's somewhere, something you need to work on, right? maybe you don't express how you feel in a way that communicates to that person, hey, when you do XYZ, it causes me to feel a certain way, and then I go eat, and you know, I'm having issues with my weight, or I'm having issues with my health, or whatever the case may be. Well, go address that, you know? But I think a preemptive strike or preventative care is better than, you know, like allowing it to happen and then relying on different coping mechanisms and stuff. I mean, obviously we want to have those available, but what if we just don't put ourselves in a position in the first place? It's kind of like with eating, right? Eating addiction. If your goal is to eat healthy for 2021, but you have Oreos and marshmallows and Fruit Loops and all of this trash in your kitchen and in your cabinet, what are you doing? Now, if this was crack or if it was heroin, we wouldn't expect someone who is addicted to a hard drug to have it laying around, knowing that they're battling that addiction. But yet with food, we just don't seem to hold it to that same standard. It's like, Steve, what do you call it? An acceptable coping mechanism or whatever?
An acceptable coping mechanism.
What'd you call it? Acceptable, socially acceptable.
Pro-social.
Pro-social. It's pro-social. It's pro-social. Food is pro-social. Yeah. So it's okay to have ho-hos, and do they even make those anymore? And Twinkies and all this crap around, even though you know that you're working on your health and your weight and whatever. Like, that doesn't make sense. And you should hold those in your family and your circle to the same standard. Like, if you care about me, you claim you care about me. If you actually do, listen, I have found out that these foods are toxic and they're addictive and they're bad for me. And because I'm dealing with heart disease, cancer, diabetes, or whatever, I don't want to consume them. And I would appreciate, because I am dealing with addiction, if you don't bring that stuff around me. Like, why is that that should be a normal thing to do?
You know, I, just to jump in real quick, that made me, I read Tiff's comment, and then you just said something which made me think about boundaries. So to kind of the Tiff real quick, understanding that you don't have, when someone is ungrateful for the information that you provide to them, it's important that you, of course, have an internal boundary that says, I don't have to feel bad for that, right? For example, everyone in our family knows where we are in life right now, and on our health journey, and they know the information we have access to. We have helped people heal multiple diseases that are preventable as well as curable. And if someone in my sphere of influence falls ill to one of those diseases or eventually dies to it, well, I feel bad slightly. But there's an internal boundary that says, I've put out information to say, hey, listen, I'm available to speak to. You can talk to me about this, and I can help you. I can provide you information. And if you don't go to get that information, that's not on me. It's not my job to feel bad for that. So that's an internal boundary that we have to set. So it's just one of those. It's one of those things. Also, when I talk about pro-social and anti-social, I just want to kind of explain real quickly what that means, because if you don't know, then you don't know. But pro-social is something that typically it is okay for people look at that in a social aspect or in society and say, this is okay. So, for example, after work, 5 o'clock, let's go get a few beers. That's pro-social. People look at that after work. Hey, listen, that's okay. That's cool. Pro-social is eating food, having food at every event in the world. Pro-social. Going skating, going bowling, music, singing, going to Six Flags. All of these events, going to the park, whatever, doing yoga, going to the gym, all pro-social, right? Anti-social, things like sniffing cocaine, shooting heroin, right? Doing hard drugs, drinking alcohol and throwing up and blacking out and driving home, all antisocial, anything that people frown upon on in society would be considered antisocial. So, and of course that list goes on and on, but I don't want to talk about negative things or things that aren't, not negative, but just things that aren't the most positive. But those are things that are antisocial. The problem is that even pro-social activities can be abused. And that's where the line gets blurry, because we look at somebody who goes to the gym 7 days a week and they're in there 3 hours a day, and we look at them like, oh my God, like you're just working out and you're just trying to get your body right and da 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 da. And then I look at them and, let's say that they have a really hard time interacting with people, or, you start to have a conversation with them and they have some issues. And it's just like, yo, that's why you're in the gym so much, because you're running from all your traumas, and this is your outlet. But everyone else sees this as it's okay. That's a problem. Right. And everyone looks at it and says, oh, it's because it's pro-social. It's cool. Like, oh, you in the gym, you grinding, you looking good, da da da. No, that's a problem. Anything in excess can be a problem, right?
Yeah.
So
I've had this discussion with John on several occasions. I think I might have mentioned it online during a video once, that it didn't, going to the gym all the time every day. Like, what are you doing in there all the time every day? What is this obsession with sculpting your body? Because we're not talking about necessarily people who are in there, they're hitting it hard to lose weight per se. I understand that, but unless your job is a bodybuilder, why are you in the gym every day, all the time, 3 hours a day, 4 hours a day, every day? Like, why? But it's socially acceptable because it's like they just want to be fit. No, it's deeper than that. There's something else there. Maybe they were really unhealthy at one point, or they viewed themselves as unattractive, or whatever the case may be, and now that's still there, or they have a fear of going back to that. There's something deeper, because there's so much life to live, and I feel like anytime we spend an excess amount of time anywhere specific, it's like too much of anything's a bad thing. We need water. We are 72+% supposed to be more water. But if we get too much water, it's called drowning, right? So there's really that passes the logic test, saying that too much of anything is not good. Too much love and attention and care could cause you to grow up and be soft, especially as a man who has to go out and provide and decision make and all this. I've seen it happen with some of my friends who were coddled way too much as young boys. I wanted to make sure that we're all on the same page as far as what we're talking about today. So we're talking about how to maintain your fasting weight loss, but we're going to hit y'all from left field with this first segment because we're talking about the emotional side of it, more of it, the more mental side, and dealing with coping mechanisms and getting into some of the deeper reasons why we struggle with food, because that's really at the core of the reason why you're having trouble maintaining your weight loss. And these are some of the topics that we really go in depth with when we teach our 40-day wellness class. So I wanted to make sure that you all were aware that Stephen and I did start our 40-day wellness class, and probably what was it? Oh, it's been about a week. So we opened up the class for April. April enrollment was open last week, and within 4 days it sold out. So we're letting you all know that the May enrollment is now open and available. I think we have maybe 2 or 3 people who have already purchased slots in the May class. So the May class is currently available. If what we are talking about in this live is intriguing to you, if it's hitting the right spots, if it's making sense, understand that we take you through over 5 weeks of information just like this. And we really started at the beginning where It's like, let's develop your reason why you even want to make these changes in your life. Because if you don't have a solid reason why you're doing this, then when things get tough, when it gets rough, you're not going to have anything to stand on. So we really teach you how to develop a proper why, because some people think, oh, my why is because I want to lose, 100 pounds. Okay, that may be a good starting why. It's kind of like a starting house. Like people call it a starting house because it's like, okay, I'm moving from an apartment to a house. Maybe I don't have a family. It's just to get my feet wet. I just want to dabble in home ownership. And then when you become more established, you get some more money, you upgrade, and you get the bigger house, maybe with 5 bedrooms and 4 bathrooms and a backyard and all this stuff. So your why right now might just be a starter why. We need you to get to a place where you have the that more mature why. Okay? So we start teaching that in the 40-day wellness class, and then over the course of 5.5, 6 weeks, we help you develop a deeper, richer understanding of why are you dealing with food addiction. How do emotions play a role in all of this? And it's a very deep. It's very deep, so it's not something that we could just do in a 1 hour live or whatever the case may be. But we just wanted to give you all a taste of what you have an opportunity of experiencing in the class. If you're interested, I'm gonna put the link in the chat right now. You just go, you register, and then we take you through an enrollment process. And then if you're a right fit for the class, we'll send you an invitation to join the class. Now, as we kind of shift gears, I want to move into more of like physical. How do we maintain weight after our fast? And we're going to talk more about the physical side, which is what we traditionally talk about, with a healthy alternative. Well, first of all, it's very important to understand that the reason why you got overweight to begin with is because of the dietary habits. Okay? So when I was younger, this guy used to say, you're the sum total of your decisions up until this point. Understand that where you are in life is 100% the sum total of the decisions that you have made. So what does that mean? We need to start changing the decisions we make, maybe our thought processes, so we make better decisions and we can get somewhere else in life, because we're here because we're not at a place that we're happy. We're not happy where we are. So you're going to have to make some changes. All right. Now, the other piece of this that makes it very difficult for people, they decide, hey, I want to change, but there's a lot of misinformation out there. What's healthy to eat? What's not healthy to eat? Should I eat nutrient dense? Should I drink more water? Should I take electrolytes? There's all these different businesses and advertisements that are very confusing about health. And that's the reason why I developed AHA to begin with. It's like, let's bulldoze through all this BS and let's figure out what is actually going to work. So we talk a lot about eating your water, right? When my portion of the 40-day wellness class, I'm going to be talking about like the physical stuff. What do you eat? How do you fast? These sorts of things. I always start with hydration. Even if you consult with me on a one-on-one basis, 9 times out of 10 throughout that consultation, we're going to talk about hydration. Why? Because we are genuinely, when you look at our cells, we're really like 99% water. We're really more water than we are anything else. Okay? So right now, the average human is, at least in America, we're about 72% water, which means we are in a constant state of dehydration. So if you talk to any doctors who regularly check people's hydration levels, you'll hear, oh yeah, everybody's dehydrated. Everybody that comes in here is dehydrated, right? So why? Well, it's because we think drinking water hydrates us. Drinking water does not necessarily hydrate you. Now, how does this correlate to maintaining weight loss? Well, the reason why we gain weight to begin with is cellular dehydration. This is your body being bombarded with contamination at a level that it cannot deal with. So then the cells become inflamed, right? Once they're inflamed, it's hard for water and nutrients and anything else to penetrate the cell because it's kind of like in a quarantine. It's like, nothing in, nothing out. All right. So fat, your weight, your fat, all of that stuff, it is a result of this dehydration of the cell. So the way that you resolve it is by flushing the cell with fresh water. And it's a process. There's a level of understanding you have to have about hydration. Your bottled water, first of all, is what's called bulk water, which means that the molecule size of the water is too big to penetrate the cell. And it's even going to be more difficult to penetrate the cell when it's inflamed. So you need to manipulate your water to break up the water clusters, the molecules, so that it can penetrate the cell to even hydrate it. Now, once you start doing that, now you need to get more of that water. So what's a simple way to hydrate the body? Eating your water. This is the reason why I tell y'all, when you come off your fast, eat juicy fruits or drink fruit juice, fresh fruit juice. This is why I say these things. I'm not saying it for my health. I'm saying it for y'all's health. It's for everybody's health. But me saying it doesn't make me healthy, is my point. So what I'm saying is you want to eat water. Why do you eat water? Because when you drink a bottle of water, it's bulk water. When you eat water, it's cellular water. It's structured water. It's energized water. It's the water that's going to actually hydrate you. So you're taking the pressure off the body to structure and do all of those things to the water to make it hydrating. You're saying, body, you don't need to worry about that anymore. We're just going to eat our water and we're going to use the plants because plants just make cellular water. That's just what they do. And we're going to consume that. That's going to help you hydrate better. Now, guess what? The cells start releasing the cellular waste. And now the inflammation goes away. And now the weight starts coming down. And now the waste comes out. And that is one of the ways that you start, you really need that as a base to help facilitate maintaining your weight loss. Steve, you got anything?
Hey, man, you up here dropping nuggets.
They ain't even supposed to get all this unless they in the class, are they?
Man, you up here dropping nuggets, man. Let me tell you that. That is beginning. I didn't, to be honest, in all of my time, right, as you as my mentor, I didn't know all that stuff until probably about 4 or 5 months ago. And when I started to really delve and really start to understand hydration, it blew my mind. Like to the point where like I was going through different fasting periods. And during those times of fasting, I'm like, Chris, like, I'm just not losing weight. Like, it's just coming off super slow. Right. And then I remember telling you, like, one of the things I was doing was I wasn't really drinking a lot of water during that time. And I was also drinking coffee as well.
Right. And
you were like, bruh, you're dehydrated. You're literally dehydrating your body. And I'm like, how? Right. And if you coffee drinkers out there, listen to me here, listen up close, because I mentioned something on my Facebook today about coffee, and nobody had any issues with anything else, but that coffee thing, I ain't giving up my coffee. Okay. Right. Coffee's pro-social, right? But anything
right.
I ain't gonna beat y'all up too much, but red flag. Anyway, so while I was going through my fasting, I'm not eating anything, but I'm having a cup of coffee here and there, because it helps, right? It definitely helps with fasting. No sugar in it, no cream, just black, right? And I was not losing the weight that I should have been losing, right? And what I then started to understand is that number one, I'm already not drinking enough water, but I'm drinking just enough so that my body doesn't make it on its own. That's a whole different topic in and of itself. But also number two, coffee was actually dehydrating me, right? So I started to realize that, and this kind of makes sense, right, when you think about it, but coffee is as a diuretic. So if you take an average size cup of coffee is 12 ounces, right? You take that 12 ounces of coffee and you get up and you head to work and you start drinking your coffee, when you get to work, you're going to have to use the bathroom, right? If you do the same thing with a bottle of water or 12 ounces of water, you won't have to use the bathroom. And you're like, huh, right? You probably never really thought about that or really paid attention to it. And the reason is because the coffee is a diuretic. You're not processing that coffee. That coffee is not being processed and being peed out. That is literally the hydration that is already inside of you. And the stimulants in the coffee are saying release. And then it's diuretic and it's causing you to release hydration. Not inflammation or not bloating. It is literally cellular hydration from your tissue that you need. So what's happening is that for me, what was happening is when I was doing my fasting, I was not losing the weight I was supposed to be losing because I wasn't hydrated. My body was struggling. And as soon as I stopped drinking the coffee, I'm talking about the same day, I stopped drinking the coffee. My fasting efforts all went up, right? I was still drinking the same amount of water. I started drinking a little bit more, and then weight started to come back off again instantly, just by removing the coffee. And I remember going to you, Chris, and I was like, dude, instant change.
Right.
From there, haven't had any coffee, not one cup. Even when I wasn't fasting, it was just, I was like, you know what? I don't even drink coffee like that anyway. I was just doing it because it was helping me during my fasting. Right. And I've been going so hard. I needed some assistance. And I said, you know what? This is hurting me. Let me just get rid of it. And then since then, never had another cup. And that wasn't, once again, I wasn't a daily coffee drinker. I wasn't like get up in the morning, gotta have coffee. Like I was just doing it because it was widely accepted, or it's pro-social in the fasting community that you can have coffee, black, and tea. Like, and I try to tell people all the time, like, yo, this is going to hurt you. This is going to prevent you from hitting your goals. People don't want to hear that. They think that, okay, it's all right. Well, you know, the calories are low in it. So you're okay. You're good.
Right.
No.
See, this is the problem. We want to look at this way too scientifically. You know, you want to look at all these popular doctors, all these fasting gurus out here. You want to listen to them because they're going to make it as easy as possible for you because it bolsters their platform and it makes them look good. Oh, I had this guy do 100-day fast. That guy did 21 days. He lost that much weight, blah, 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 blah. Okay, is what you're doing promoting optimal health? Because if you're not doing that, I don't care. I don't want any part of it, you know? And that's what separates AHA from a lot of these other brands out here who are teaching the similar information. We're going to give it to you raw and uncut. I'm not here to hold your hand and, you know, pat you on the back and make you feel comfortable the entire time. Listen, you are doing light surgery on your body. Fasting allows the body to heal, and you have so much gunk and build up and crap inside you. It's not going to be comfortable. Get that out of your mind. Like, it's not supposed to be daisies, cherries, and rainbows the whole time. Yes, that's a part of it. Yeah, beautiful. That's part of it. But that's not the entire thing. You're going to have days where you feel like you're going to die. It's important to understand why you feel that way. It's important to have some tools for circumventing that intense level of a detox, which we teach in our class. Like that's something that we certainly do teach you, like to help you make it more manageable. But you're gonna have days that are hard. Like, let's stop trying to escape it, because guess what? You are completely fine putting that cheeseburger in your belly. You were completely okay having that ice cream, those Snickers bars. That was all good. And now you have all of this disease in your body, and you want that to be the easy part. Man, get out of here. So here's the thing. I want you all to understand that when you are dehydrating your body with coffee, caffeinated tea and certain things, you are slowing down your bowel movements. So for y'all who have done some fasting, some long-term fasting, day 5, day 6, you might start realizing, man, I haven't had a bowel movement, Well, you're really for the first time seeing how slow your bowels move. So here's another thing that another nugget that I teach in the class. Think about this. Let's just say for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you're eating Doritos, crackers, chips, all dry foods. right? Let's
This is
just
really
say you take
yeah.
a day, you eat all dry foods. Guess what's
Tell them
gonna
about it, man.
guess what's gonna happen the morning after?
You're gonna take a poop.
You're gonna have a poop, and that poop is gonna be 72+% water content. So that means that you're eating food that is less than 10% water content, but you're pooping something out that has 70% water. So now you need to ask yourself, well, where is all that extra water coming from?
How's that work? What's
How can I poop out something that's 70% water, but I ate something that was less than 10% water? It's because it is stripping vital hydration from your deep tissues. And you're doing this unconsciously day in and day out. That's the reason why there is a statistic that says that the average American has anywhere from 10 to 20 pounds of excess fecal matter stuffed in your digestive system. Why? Because we're not lubricating. We're not lubricating our systems well. So imagine you've got pipes in your house or apartment or whatever you live in. There's a drainage system. If you pour oil down there and you pour hair down there and you pour, syrup and just gunky stuff, guess what happens? Now you get a slow drain, right? That's what's happening in your body. You have a slow drain and you have stuff, plaque that is collected, in your intestines. It's just stuck. It's just literally stuck. And so now we have to use something like, fasting or liver gallbladder flush or, well, if you really focus on eating fruit and vegetables, that will help to extract all that stuff out. So most of y'all out there, I'll say this: if you are close to an average size person in America, which means you're overweight, because average in America is overweight. So if you're close to an average size person, you have anywhere from 10 to 20. If you are in the obese range, you're talking 20 to 30 to 40 pounds. If you are morbidly obese, you could have more than 40 pounds of waste. We're not talking fat. No one's talking about this. We're not talking fat. We're not talking about inflammation. We are talking about waste. Do you understand what that does to your system? Do you have excess body odor? Let's get real now. Do you stink or do you have a hard time keeping yourself smelling fresh? Do you ever wonder why when you sweat it smells so bad, or your excrements in general, why they smell so bad? Well, if I had, 20, 30, 40 pounds of waste that's been sitting in my system for years, I probably would start to smell pretty bad, right? So we got to understand this stuff. We go way more in depth in the class than this. This is literally just a tip of the iceberg, but I wanted to give y'all an opportunity to see what it is we teach in the class because, you got to know, like, why. Why should I even be interested in attending the 40-day wellness class? Well, now you got a little juice.
Hey man, did you know? You may know this, but some other people may not, and this is going to be very unpopular. But it's AHA, and anyone that knows us knows how we eat. But anything that is under, what did you say? Anything under 72 or so percent of water is
75%.
dehydrated. How much? 75?
If it's under 75, I consider 75% or above high water. If it's under 70%, it's low water content.
Okay. So it was funny because there was somebody, I mean, I've seen multiple people in this community that they use meat as their primary source of food. And a lot of them have issues with dehydration. And the issues that they explain are dehydration. And they said they've had issues with dehydration. Well, let me just give you a few little, a couple things. So, chicken. When you cook chicken, hydration or water content, 60%, dehydrating. White meat chicken with skin, 61%, dehydrating. Dark meat chicken with skin, cooked, 59%, dehydrating. Ground beef, 85% lean, 60% dehydrating. Same thing, 73% lean, 55% dehydrating. Beef, eye round, 65% dehydrating. Beef, whole brisket, 56% dehydrating. The list goes on and on. They're all dehydrating. So you sit there and ask yourself, right? People talk about this, you know, this carnivore diet and how it helps you lose weight and da da da. Hey, listen, man, I never said meat's gonna make you fat, right? There's a lot of studies out there that show meat helps you lose weight, right? Yep. Go ask Dr. Atkins. Oh, you can't. Right? Not, you know, hey, not trying to be insensitive.
Shady.
Not trying to be insensitive, but like, I mean, I'm serious, right? This is the
keep
thing.
it real.
Let's get real. Right? Like people are out here touting the keto diet as healthy. And listen, I ain't attacking y'all, but there's a difference between weight loss and health.
Yep.
Let me say that again. There's a difference between weight loss and health. If I told you to go eat a whole bunch of these pills, you're gonna say, Steven, that can't be healthy. Yeah, you're right, it's not. But if I told you that, hey, eating meat only and eating all this stuff is not healthy, you're going to be like, well, there's all this stuff to say it is. Well, I'm telling you, it's not. It's literally dehydrating you. Right? Did you just hear Chris talked about even with water, how bulk water, you can't even assimilate it. The body then has to process and try to break it down. But of course, if you're eating all this meat and stuff as well, it has to process that stuff too, right? How is it supposed to do all this stuff at the same time? It can't. So you walk around dehydrated, right? You go to the beach. Oh, hold on now. You go to the beach, right? And you go outside for 30 minutes and you start burning. And you're like, oh my God, I don't understand why I'm burning. Well, you're dehydrated. You're just like a piece of, you take an egg and you put it on a sidewalk and the sidewalk is 85 degrees. Guess what it's gonna do? It's gonna cook, right? But put that same egg and then put water on the ground, right? It may cook, but it's not going to cook anywhere near as fast, right? Because there's water in between. There's water there, right? Yeah. You're like it's like taking your skin and just sitting it out in the sun all day. You're going to turn into jerky.
Yep.
You're literally cooking yourself. Why? Because you're dry.
Yep. I saw something very interesting. I don't know if it was a meme. It was just like a short video. And it was like a microscope that was like zoomed in, maybe times 100 or times 1,000. I don't remember. It was like really, really zoomed in. But you don't know this as you know when you very first start watching it. You're just looking at water, okay? You're seeing water kind of like seep out of something, and then seep back in it, and then seep out, and then seep back in it, right? And as the camera kind of zooms out or the microscope zooms out, you see that it's someone's hand, right? So what we're looking at is how the water releases hydration from the sweat glands or just from your pores. It releases hydration in response to whatever. It could do it for many different reasons, but the body has an amazing way of creating a layer of hydration on the skin, keeping it moist and healthy and whatever the case may be. So when you're talking about being out in the sun and you're burning, you're turning into jerky and all these things, it makes a lot of sense, right? Because if you don't have the hydration, then your body doesn't have it to give. So yeah, you're just dry. You know what I'm saying? Like you're just simply dry. So I just wanted to reiterate what Steve said about the ketogenic or the carnivore diet. We don't attack people's beliefs and we don't attack, what is working for people. All right. So there is no reason to be offended by what we're saying. However, we are going to teach the truth, raw and uncut. That's what AHA has always done. If you ask my opinion about it, I'm going to tell you. When you eat meat only, yes, you're going to lose weight. Yes, you're going to reverse certain diseases. Why? Why are you able to see health benefits when you only eat meat? Well, because you're probably eating a crap ton less of processed foods if you're going to a meat-only diet. You're probably eating way less processed foods. So you have in essence improved your diet. Yeah. So of course you're going to see benefits. Let's make this more plain for y'all. Let's say that right now, as of today, your diet consists of McDonald's breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Okay?
Oh God. Oh.
Watch that movie Super Size Me if you want to see what happens to a real human being when you do this. So McDonald's breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Now,
Hey, hold on. Before you move on, what about Chick-fil-A?
don't get me started. See, we talked about Chick-fil-A yesterday. Yeah, so we talked about Chick-fil-A yesterday. If y'all are under the guise that Chick-fil-A is healthy compared to McDonald's, you need to slap some sense into your own self. Okay? Chick-fil-A is processed food, it's fast food, it is not healthy, okay? Just get that out of your mind. You might be addicted, you might love it, but it ain't healthy. But what if it's not healthy, okay? I don't even trust salads at McDonald's. So, let's say that you eat McDonald's breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Now, that is not the standard American diet. That is not the standard American diet. But if you do that and then you move to the standard American diet, you're going to have health benefits.
Yep.
Just watch the movie, y'all. Watch Super Size Me if you've never seen it. See all of the negative effects that McDonald's had on that man, and just understand if he just stops eating McDonald's every day, he'll lose those diseases. Now, what does that mean? Does it mean the standard American diet is healthy? No. It just means that it was better than eating that terrible McDonald's every day, every meal diet. That's all that means. So understand, when you go to a meat-only diet, it's not to necessarily say that it's healthy. It's just better than the standard American diet, which is full of processed foods. Are y'all following me? So,
hey man, you up here.
We're giving away all the juice. The goal here is to get you all to understand what is a true healthy diet. Like what does the body really need? You know, there's a lot of deception. There's people that be like, oh, vegans this, vegans that. I'm not talking about no veganism.
Man, we ain't talking about no veganism. Ain't no vegans over here.
I'm telling you all to eat high water content foods. That's not how you define veganism. Understand that.
That's the A. What's the name of that diet? That's the Chris James diet.
That's the Chris James live it.
Hey man, let me tell you something. I'm gonna let you get back to it real quick. People ask me, or they're like, "Oh, Steven, you're vegan." I'm like, "No, I'm not. Don't slap no label on Steven. Steven is not vegan." And the reason that I say that is because that the problem with the vegan diet, and listen, I'm not attacking like Chris said, we're not attacking anybody's beliefs or anyone's diets, but we're going to give you the best information we have possible to us at the time, right? Just like you have, of course, the carnivore diet or the keto diet, and we explain, of course, the differences, right? Chris just talked about how it's going to be better than a standard American, right? The vegan diet, of course, is going to be better than a standard American diet as well, but there's a very vital flaw in the vegan diet, and that is highly processed carbohydrates. So all of your potatoes, right? You can still eat the vegans. You can still eat your all of your processed foods. You can go to McDonald's and you can still have French fries, right? You can go and have all this stuff, right? You can go get an Impossible Whopper. It's vegan. Guess what? It's completely processed. If you want to talk about health, you might as well go. You'll probably be better off going to Chick-fil-A or McDonald's. Wait, what, Steven? Yes, I said it. If you're going to eat an Impossible Whopper, it's highly processed. The whole thing is processed. You're better off going and slaughtering a cow and cooking him yourself for health reasons. Now, if you're vegan because you want to save the animals, okay, that's one thing, right? But a lot of times people are vegan because it's healthier. Well, you can't be but somebody said to me, they said, Steven, they said, man, there's a lot of fat vegans out here. Somebody's lying. I said, yeah. Well, just because you become vegan doesn't mean you're going to get small or skinny or lose all this weight. Because being vegan, it almost forces you to then eat all of these dehydrating foods as well. Your rice, all of your noodles, all these pastas, your potatoes, right? Because protein or meat does something very special for you, and it satisfies you. It gives you the feeling of fullness and satiation. right? So it's really nice to eat meat with your food or protein, or well, you can get protein from vegetables as well. So I'll just say meat because it's very satiating. When you remove that, it's not satiating, right? So if you have a very big like fruit diet, then you realize that eating a lot of fruit, you become hungry very quick, right? Because it's not very satiating. So, but you can eat a lot of it. Also processes a lot faster. Whole different conversation, right? But when you go vegan, you lose that, right? So you lose that satiation. So then you start going for your rices and your pastas and your beans and your lentils and all of these, put your potatoes, all of these things. But then the problem with that, of course, is that now they break down, of course, into sugar in the body, and then they, of course, then you have the process of what's it called? What's the word I'm looking for? Insulin, right? So then you have, of course, insulin. Of course, that can increase insulin resistance. So you can have vegans that, of course, even start getting diabetes. That's a whole different conversation. But anyway, we don't necessarily. You're not gonna ever hear Chris say go vegan. Right, we teach high water content foods, plain and simple. Whole food, plant based it would be even a better way to say it.
It's a concrete language, Steve. Right, like one of the problems in our communication is, especially in the English language. I can only speak about that language. It's the only language I know. That and Ebonics. But the English language is like, it could be interpreted 100 different ways. If you even just think about certain words, the word, if I say buy, if I say, Steven, spell buy.
B-I.
Spell buy.
B-Y-E.
Spell buy.
B-U-Y.
See, this is ridiculous. Like, it's we need concrete language. So when I say eat high water content food, there's really no room for, how can anyone get that wrong? High water content food. Well, what does that mean, Chris? It means high water content food. I define it as 75% water content or better. So if your food doesn't have 75% water content or better, it's not high water content. That is my definition. You're not going to find this on Google as far as like the definition of high water content per se. This is how I have defined it. This is how we teach it. And it's based off of my personal knowledge base. I look at the dehydration levels of the average Americans and people I come in contact with. I look at the foods they're eating, and I look at what's available. So based on that, I make this recommendation. And yeah, I got the power to do that. And you put me in Wikipedia. You know what I'm saying? You can put me in Wikipedia. Chris James said high water content is 75% water content or better. If you do that, you're doing well. Obviously, we could get more strict with it, but we're not even there yet. So anyway, that's all I got for y'all today, because if you want to get more of this, you got to come to the wellness class. The next wellness class starts in May. The April class is sold out. It's sold out in 4 or 5 days. So we're now in the May class. If you're interested in getting a deeper understanding of some of the topics we talked about today, you need to sign up. Now, that doesn't mean you're necessarily going to get in. We only have, we only take 15 people per class, and we probably only have like 12 or 13 slots left in the May class. It's already started to fill up. But if you're interested, you can follow this link. I'm gonna put it in again. There's the link again, and you could go through the enrollment process.
Hey, I really appreciate everybody that stopped in, people that tuned in and listened, people that were commenting. I really appreciate you guys' interaction. There's a lot of stuff that we talked about here that we haven't necessarily talked about before on the channel. And a lot of times that's because we get censored by Facebook, we're censored by YouTube, and it's very difficult to get some of the information out. Because I know there were some people that were asking, there was, one in particularly that was asking in the chat about who am I? Am I Chris's brother? So a couple quick answers. Yes, my name is Stephen Michael, and I'm Chris's brother. I am the brother that had lost a whole bunch of weight, and then I gained weight back because I had some major emotional traumas, and I paid for it with time. And then I ended up gaining a whole bunch of weight back. I got back up to like 320 pounds. wow, right? And then now, boom, right, lost it again, right, still dropping. My goal was to get that, was to lose 120 pounds in 6 months, and I am just shy of that still. I am currently on day 6 of a 14-day dry fast. You heard it right, I said it. So on track to hit that goal. I mean, obviously, I can't control the numbers. You know, only my body does that, but I can control what I put in my mouth. So, but yes, that is me. That is who I am. And by mid next week, I will be at my lowest weight ever, and I'm very excited about that. So, there will be a video that will come out probably at the end of April of the entire journey and more in-depth information. But for the people that were curious and asking, that's me. And one of the things that I teach is actually I'm in the process of creating a program of how to do the same thing. It's a 3-month program, and it's really going to be based around fat loss. Right? There's a difference between fat loss and weight loss, and it's really going to be focused around fat loss and how you do that, what's most efficient, and a lot of those things we also teach in the 40-day wellness program also.
All right, y'all. That's it. I think we answered all the questions. I hope y'all enjoyed this. I know we don't do it as often as we should, but the
no. Don't say should. Don't say should, because should means you're putting an expectation on yourself
we don't do it as often as I'd like to.
There you go.
But the censorship is real, and so for that, we are creating our own app. So some of y'all might be familiar with that. If you donated to the app, we reached out this past week in order to get your shirt size and stuff like that, because some of you all who donated earned rewards. So make sure that you check your email, and if you received an email from us, respond with your shirt size so I can get it to you. Otherwise, I'm going to send you a generic size, and it might not fit you, but that might be good, because then that'd be like a motivation shirt. All right, Chris sent me this shirt. It means I'm supposed to get in this shirt. So you might need to go ahead and get up in that shirt. Anyway, if you're interested in learning more about the app, which is where we're going to shift the platform to eventually, hopefully this summer, I'm going to leave the link for that as well. That is the ahaapp.com. And you can check out all about the app, what we're doing, and you can also contribute if you so choose. So,
Chris, one quick thing. Somebody asked a question, and she asked it twice. So she said, if a person doesn't sweat a lot with no known diagnosis, is that a sign of dehydration?
If they don't sweat a lot, I mean, that's kind of a hard question to answer. You shouldn't just be sweating all the time. So that's a really hard question to answer. If you're saying if you're like working out, or if you're out in the sun and you're not perspiring, yes, that's certainly a sign that either you're dehydrated or you've got some major your pores are clogged, or there is an issue. But with that being said, there's probably no doctor that's going to tell you, hey, you should be sweating more, right? Like, they don't check for stuff like that. That's why health and wellness is so important, because we really focus on the health and wellness of the body holistically versus, oh, your heart's in good shape, your lungs are in good shape. Okay, all your vital organs are good, blood pressure's good, sugar's good, you're healthy. No, that does not mean you're healthy. Most of those numbers are arbitrary to begin with, right? Blood pressure, blood sugar. These numbers don't really mean what you think they mean. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, we're not really looking at the body as a holistic thing. And outside of the body, it's the all the dimensions, your energetic, your spiritual, your mental, your physical. They all need to be in alignment. So I would say that yes, you're dealing with dehydration. You should be perspiring, but I mean, I don't just perspire, but so the other side of it is if your sweat glands are overactive, if you're just sweating all the time, if you're one of them dudes, y'all know them dudes that be sweating and just got all that water underneath their arms all the time, That's the other side of things. That's also bad, right? Remember, the body is all about balance. So you shouldn't be experiencing the extreme of one or the other.
Thank you. Good answer. I agree.
All right.
Well, hey, man, that's it, man. I appreciate you. I appreciate everybody once again. And if you guys are interested in the 40-day wellness class, Chris has dropped tons of links. There's all these links in there. Check it out. If you can't find it for whatever reason, just hit one of us up. We'll send it over to you. You know, we got you. Our goal is to help you out as much as possible, and we do that, which is also why the class fills up quickly, because we added a couple things to help people out.
Y'all pretty much got like a free bonus wellness class today.
What, today?
Yeah, they pretty much just got a whole bonus wellness class.
Pretty much a class.
Yeah.
So I mean, of course, you know, it's very surface level of a lot of different topics, but I mean, there's some stuff in here that was pretty deep, actually.
Oh, there's some good stuff in here.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen the whole live, go back, watch the whole live.
If you haven't seen the whole live, go back and watch the whole live, because there were some bombs dropped.
Yeah.
I know it's a little bit, it's long, but hey, listen, if you are not gonna you'll sit and you'll go and watch Godzilla vs. King Kong for 2 hours, but if you ain't gonna sit and watch Steven and Chris talk for an hour and a half, you're not serious. Don't even try to sign up. Straight up. Nah, man. No, because listen, man, you know. All right, I ain't gonna do it, man. I ain't gonna do it, man.
We ain't gonna do it.
Man, people need to take their health serious. Take your health serious. Like there are people that sign up for my own personal coaching, right? And then I sit there and I'm trying to, you know, I'm explaining things and I'm coaching, and they're arguing with me. Like, hey, listen, why are we here? If you know it all, why are we here? You know, we are not, like, listen, we are awesome people, and I'm gonna toot my own horn for a second. We're awesome people, right? I will give my shirt off of my back to anybody. I will give and give and give and give and give, and I will help you as much as possible. But if you're not willing to put in the time and the effort, that's all I ask. That's all I ask. If you want to join the program, come willing to put in the time. Come willing to put in a little bit of effort and have the open mind to say, Stephen, I'm willing to give up some of my bad habits so that I can be healthy. We're not going to ask you to give up everything, right? You don't got to give up everything, but you need to give up some things. Otherwise, you're going to go right back to where you were. Plain and simple. So, man, I was about to go into something else, but I'm done, man. I was about to go into 2 different paths.
See, you're going to scare people. They ain't going to watch the live because it's 2 hours.
Hey, listen. Hey, don't get scared. It's not 2 hours, is it?
Might as well, coming up on it.
Might as well.
All right, so I always got to reel Steve in. This happens every time. If y'all are interested in getting more of this to Steven, boom, you need to join the class, because he does it pretty much every class, so you'll get plenty of it. Got plenty of content for y'all. We really appreciate your attention. I tell people all the time, the most valuable thing you have is your time and your attention, and we appreciate you giving it to us. All right, peace.
Peace.